All right, welcome to topic 3. So how's it going? If you have missing or late assignments, please reach out to me. I will reassign those to you for full credit opportunities. I do not do that with discussions, only because discussions, by their nature, are meant to be discussed. And if the whole class has moved on to a new topic, there's no discussion. However, if you have an extenuating circumstance, please let me know as soon as possible. I don't assign discussions after the fact, but if you've had a crisis or an emergency, reach out to me. I encourage you, though, to participate in the discussions as they are available. So this week, we are looking at an exciting and awful time in our history, the year 1800 to 1860. So all that time leading up to the Civil War, we see expansion and reform. You're analyzing President Jackson's presidency. So I encourage you, obviously, to do all of the required reading. I encourage you to read the Indian Removal Act of 1830 before you respond to discussion question 1, because it really gives a stark view of Jackson's attitude. Jackson was a fighter. He was tough, and he had very tough opinions, and we see that coming through in his presidency. Then, discussion question 2, you're looking at the Second Great Awakening. And that's where we get this. So we've gone from having to go through a priest to tell us what the Bible says. So that's filtered through their own impressions. To now, literacy is more widespread. We have the printing press. We can read it for ourselves, decide what we think. But we're still, having some religious authority. We see these Protestant religions, though, springing up and superseding the Catholic religion in a way. But now, the Second Great Awakening, that's where we get these feel-good religions and these religion by feeling. And there's a deviation from the more strict word of the Bible. And so, you get to address that in the second discussion this week. So there's a lot of changes, a lot of things happening. But years ago, maybe 25, maybe not, maybe like 23, 22 years ago, everybody used to read the local paper. Nobody does that anymore. But everybody used to read the local paper. And in the local paper, there would be these arrest reports with names. And so I remember my dad showing me one of someone we knew and respected and just a very kind, nice person. And so I asked my dad, how does that happen? How does someone go from being a pillar of their community to now in jail and facing addiction or fighting addiction? And my dad said, you have to have lines that you will not cross. That's how you don't wind up like that. And so I had a lot of blurry lines in my life for a long time. But now I feel like, I hope at least I have lines I will not cross. So when you keep that in mind, when you're looking at the Second Great Awakening, did we need to have lines that we would not cross, or did we need to blur them with the Second Great Awakening? It might just give you a different perspective on some of the outcomes of the Second Great Awakening. All right, and then you have your assignment this week. The assignment this week is amazing. So you're going to pick 5. You're picking 5 of these events from this list, and this list is powerful. And so the Louisiana Purchase is really an impressive display of Jefferson's, because Jefferson was very anti-federalist. He did not like this strong federal government. But then when it came to the Louisiana Purchase, he used all of his executive power to say, we are taking that. And I get that. As a farmer, a rancher, you always want your neighbor's ground. And when it comes up for sale, you're trying to buy it. So I totally get that. But he sort of changes his political beliefs, the exercise of, at least. So then the Dred Scott decision is just a tragedy on the part of our Supreme Court, where they uphold slavery and they deny the right to citizenship. This book by Joel Richard Paul He's an attorney and a historian, I think. All attorneys really are historians because the law is driven by something called precedent, which is what has happened before. So this Indivisible by Joel Richard Paul, he looks at this time period of history and he makes the case that things like the Fugitive Slave Act were just terrible because even free African Americans in the North were being rounded up and taken back to the South. We have so many miscarriages of justice during this time. So I encourage you to really, really diligently dig in and study the 5 you choose. It will be beneficial for you and also probably shockingly eye-opening. So keep that in mind. All right, and then participation all week long. So when you reply to my extra participations, those can be short answers and then you still get 1 participation point. It doesn't earn your full participation for the week. So sorry about any confusion about that. All right, have a great week. Reach out with questions.